no agenda. Also, we mark it as explicit on the podcast apps. So like if you did want to swear, you could. And it's really just a matter of like us chatting about things. Because Kris and I found that after we record an episode, we usually hang around for a little while chatting about things. And we were like, we should just record this. So this is what this is, right? This is just us kind of chatting post episode about random things and no agenda. Am I missing anything?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. So yeah, that's what this is.
Yeah.
Do you do an intro for this?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I do.
Yeah, the intro.
Hello, viewer / listener. Welcome to Break, the Fallthrough after show for Fallthrough episode 55. Wow, can't believe we're in the 50s. It's kind of crazy. I'm here with my wonderful, as always, co-host, Matt, and our two guests from the episode, Annie Hedgepeth and Michael Hedgepeth. So, how are we all feeling about that episode we just recorded? Oh, we also have to do unpopular opinions. We'll do that at some point in this episode. But first, how are we all feeling? I felt like that went pretty well.
I think so too. It reminds me of when me and Matthew would just, back channel at HashiCorp and just talk for like an hour.
And by back channel, of course, you mean work very hard on Terraform
We
Enterprise.
were also pairing,
Duh.
but sometimes it would just lead to chat.
No, those are the best conversations.
I'm having non-zero level of anxiety about my rant about distinguished engineers.
I know.
I just hate the word. What are you? I'm a distinguished. Oh, but are you distinguished? Very, very distinguished. I just hate the word. I mean, it's not
Like,
the people
distinguished
are bad.
from what? Distinguished from everybody else? Like, I don't know. It's a weird word.
Yeah.
Is there another title? Like, distinguished is one of those, but is there another like partner-esque level engineer, or is distinguished the only title that high? It might be just distinguished. I don't remember.
I feel like senior principal is one of those weird ones where I'm just like, okay.
I don't mind that. Those are two. Okay, you maybe have too many levels, but just it doesn't rub me the wrong. Principal engineer, that makes sense, or staff engineer, makes sense. Distinguished just it's like a title that makes it look like you're untouchable.
Oh, do you mean
don't
like
they have like fellow?
Yeah, distinguished fellow.
Fellow was the one I was thinking.
It's
of.
just
There
a
you go.
university terminology that I
Yeah.
don't think works in engineering.
But Kris, you're talking about like senior principal, as in like principal 2, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you meant? by
Yeah.
that?
Oh.
I'm like,
Yeah, I've seen that.
Not only am I principal, but I'm even above that.
It's like somebody just needed a raise. Like, just give them a raise.
Well, but that's
Yeah.
kind of what it is, right? Companies, they do tie comp stuff to levels, and like so they won't just give you more money. They have to justify it with some level.
Yeah.
And like to Chris's point back in the episode, that's just a fundamental misorganization of the company. Like you just need to think about why that's a problem. Like, why can't I give you more money because you deserve it without having to give you like a different title?
I think also like there's a point you brought up, Annie, about like, if you like switch from, or somebody brought up, I don't know who brought it up, I think it was you, Annie, who brought up like, if you go from one sport to another, you might have been like very proficient in that sport, but you're like a rookie in this other one. And it's like, we do that not just with like the IC to manager track, which is like just because you're a good IC does not mean you're going to be a good manager, but also with like the different types of engineering. Like just because you're someone that's good at like sitting down and hammering out code and like solving those intricate little problems doesn't mean you're going to be good at like team spanning software. And you just kind of treat it as like, you should just become good at that type of stuff. But that's like a completely different mode of thinking. So we take people that get really good at this one set of skills. And then we're like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to pay you more money to not do that thing that we spent years investing in you to do well. We're going to do this other thing that you might actually be terrible at. And it's just like a really weird structural thing that we just do. And we're all just like, this is normal. It's like, but not really, like not at all. Like there's no reason why someone shouldn't be able to enter an organization and be like a staff plus, even if they are like 20 years old, because it's like, hey, like I actually think at a high level forest organizational level thing. And I'm good at that type of work. I'm not good at focusing on like one little project at a time. But there's so many people with ADHD that really just need to be staff engineers from the beginning, because their ability to just like focus on this one little task. It's like, I want to be focusing on like 1,000 tasks. And it's like, I don't know, let the people run.
Yeah, I also though see a different trap that people fall in early career in tech, especially, is like bringing the human systems together before you have the technical foundation. And it doesn't sound like that was your experience at all. Like you had the technical foundation. going into your roles. But a lot of people out of college, and this happens where they're the ones who are going to figure out what the ticket statuses are and what the other teams want, and bringing all the meaning together, which is extremely valuable. And meanwhile, their colleague is the one who's putting their heads down and shipping stuff and thinking about the technology. And in 10 years, the colleague who did that is getting paid way more than, like, the track of those two things are way different. And it's sort of an offloading. Like, if you get out of the engineering track, you can kind of find yourself in a place you don't want to be. So I do, like, when I'm managing early career people, I do try to tell them, like, okay, I know you want to go talk, you have these skills, but make sure you build these other skills, because your value is in bringing them both together and being balanced with it.
Yeah, I think there's a thing that's really annoyed me for a long time, and I think I've said it a lot on this podcast, of like, companies need to hire librarians, because I'm like, you have an extraordinary amount of information and it is extremely poorly organized, and like, you need to hire these people to organize it, because like, you're engineers, so you're paying lots of money, in some cases like $250,000 a year, plus total comp's probably higher than that. It's just like, you're having these people that just get stuck over and over and over again, not because they can't be efficient, but because the organization of the information is just wrong. And like, so many of the solutions to that are like so disrespectful to other professions. Like, there's this one project that the Go team is doing called Oscar. There's like Oscar and Gabby, and there's these bots that they're putting in like the GitHub issue tracker to be like, this is gonna fix our problems. And like, there's this one statement that just bothers the hell out of me, where the authors basically say, the fun part of software engineering is writing code. And we don't want to automate that. We want to automate the not fun parts, like basically like triaging issues or helping users find information and all of that. And I'm like, you just described like what literary editors do or what librarians do. And you're just like, oh, we can just automate all of this away. And I'm like, these professions have existed for millennia, and they're how we've built all of our society. And you think that you, software engineer, who's only been around for less than a century, are going to be able to automate that profession, and you know nothing about it. And like, but we need to attract those people to a profession, and we're not going to do it if you're just dismissing them outright or being like, the work you do isn't fun. I'm like, there's tons of people that find that type of work fun and engaging, and they want to do it, and we should pay them well to do it, because that's how your company is going to make more money at the end of the day. Not by hiring 100 more engineers, but by hiring like 4 librarians, or like a few people that can actually like help you corral your questions into like what you're actually trying to ask, instead of just what you think you should be asking.
Have you ever watched an unedited movie? Like both unedited in terms of
like the director's cut, you mean?
Not even just director's cut, but like unedited in terms of like animations and CGI is not finished, and unedited in terms of cut for story. Like, yeah, it's
painful,
rough. Yeah. Like, I watched one of the bootleg Transformers movies at the time where the robots weren't like finished. You know what I mean?
People with cardboard boxes on.
It's basically just like blobs of like nothingness just moving around or whatever, because they didn't like edit it, and then they also didn't cut yet. So like, you just get weird cuts in the middle of the story or whatever. And I'm like, this sucks. Like, this actually sucks. But then you watch the final cut, and you're like, wow, okay, this was wow, Optimus Prime looks amazing, and you know, the story makes sense or whatever. And that just goes to show you, like, I guess because we don't see that work, right? That work is invisible to the consumer. And in like programming, we've hyper indexed on like doing the programming work, and the sort of librarian sort of work is not invisible. It's just not marked as important. Like, we can all see the GitHub issues. Nobody wants to go work on it because we're not taught that that's important. And like, for so many reasons, right? It's not tied to your comp plan to go triage issues and blah, 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 right? There's all that organizational stuff, but it's valuable. Like, when one quick more point.
Yeah, go ahead.
When I triage issues from like the open source community or whatever, I have to sit down and think, how do I want this project to go forward? Like, this issue that the user spent time submitting, and maybe not a bug, maybe a feature request, like, how does that affect the vision of the product? How should I communicate this? And that is valuable engineering time, even though I don't think it is. And I think, to your point, Kris, about what they're saying in that Oscar, you said, right?
Yeah.
what they're saying there about that's the boring stuff, it just goes to show you that they actually don't have that engineering mindset of the whole product vision. They just care about code, right? They don't actually care about the product. They just care about the output of it. Sorry, Michael, I cut you off.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, I was just going to add to Chris's point too, that when you're using AI, the thing that we often don't talk about is the LLM is more valuable the less context window you take up.
Yep.
And so there is a value in being able to manage context, which is what a librarian is doing. So a human being able to say, when you're in this context, here is the paragraph which will guide you in the right direction. I didn't have AI generate a Claude MD that was 10 pages long, because that's going to confuse everything. But this is the right level of context you need for that. And being able to manage that context window in asking questions within the right context makes the LLM way smarter. And like my experience when I haven't been working that way is like, what are these benchmarks? I don't understand how Sam Altman is telling me I have a PhD in my pocket. It sounds like I have my drunk uncle in my pocket. You know, like this is weird. But when I started curate, like with Claude Code, et cetera, when I start curating the context, I'm getting intelligence out of that. And who better to do that intelligence than junior people to loop it back around? Like you're showing up, you don't have context either. The junior person and the AI are kind of in a similar place. They're showing up, except for that AI agent is showing up like multiple times an hour. The junior person shows up once, but they're in the same place. They don't have the context, and they need to curate that context into problems that create solutions. So when put in that way, I don't really understand why there is a junior hiring crisis. It seems like if people understood that limitation of LLMs and got outside of the hype that we're going to have hyper intelligent robots in 2 years, like if they understood the technology and how to use it, we would have a junior hiring explosion, and even maybe a like liberal arts hiring explosion, or a sciences hiring explosion into technology, because it's never been a better time to leverage your lack of context into a business outcome than right now.
Yeah, I think there's this, at least for me, for my whole career, because my first major is creative writing. So I'm like a writer through and through. And I've always been like software engineering, programming. This is just writing. Like I got multiple concentrations in my degree, and like programming is just like another concentration of writing. And even more so now, where we are just interacting with LLM so much, it's like, yeah, no, you're literally just writing English prose to like do software engineering now. And like we still undervalue those types of skills, that critical thinking skill you need to actually use an LLM properly. And it's like, well, why, like, what are we doing to change like CS curriculums so that they are taking more of those English major courses? Like my literary criticism class alone shifted the way I think about the world and gave me so many more skills when it comes to actually like critical thinking and analysis of like the information I'm getting fed back. And it's also about like, you have to do a lot of time management. You have to do a lot of space management, because like I would say like in that literary criticism class, we didn't have page minimums. We had page maximums. Our professor would say, this has to be less than 10 pages. And the whole class would groan, because they didn't want to have to do that context management and shove their beautiful thesis down into so many fewer words. But that is a skill that we all picked up and we all learned about. How do you actually say what you want to say with fewer words without leaving too much out? And that's really necessary when it comes to LLMs and that context window. Like, yeah, you might be able to get a 200,000 token or maybe a million token context window, but that's only on those huge models. If you want to run something locally, you're talking about like a 10 to 40,000 token context window, which is much more compact. So you got to really start refining down everything. You got to think about how to split up your different, the different things you want to do into different agents so they can all run differently. But I think the fundamental problem of why people get tricked into believing this is becoming super intelligent is that they just don't know how it works, which is how it goes with all of this stuff, right? People think they can get rid of like librarians or project managers or whatever, because they don't know what that work is. And people think that LLM's going to take over because they don't realize that this is just like a stateless thing that you're just giving more and more of the conversation to, and it's just generating the next words. And that does become a useful thing, but it's not like some stateful, all-knowing thing you can just feed all of the information of the world to. It is like you're just calling an API over and over and over again. And I think once you understand that, it becomes a lot clearer how you can use these things, but also that they are not the super intelligent things that a lot of the AI companies are trying to sell us on.
I find myself, first of all, like like the Mac OS thing again. I'm bringing it up again. Okay, I'm sorry. My colleague uses Mac Whisper or Whisper. I don't know what it is. I think it's Mac Whisper, where it allows you to like dictate into a text field rather than
I use Super Whisper.
Yeah,
is what I use. Yeah,
and I am thinking about using something like that because you when you talk to LLM agents or whatever, you have to type all this context up or whatever, and then you do it again and you type up the same context again. You're like, okay, I should extract that into like you know, an agents.md file or command or something, right? You should extract that context out because you don't want to repeat yourself. But like, I also don't want to type all of that sometimes. I kind of want to dictate the first one because it's faster. You know what I mean? I say, hey, AI, you're working in a repo that does blah, blah, blah. We build with this, we run with this, and just boom, kind of list it out very quickly and get it going. And I've been looking to try that because when I started like cultivating the context better or curating the context better for my AI usage, it's become much better. It's a much better experience. But that requires me to do that work up front, right? I have to either write an agent.md or I have to say like, hey, you know, give it the preamble in the prompt. Like you are a blah, 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 blah. We're working in this and you can do blah, 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 blah. And the output is so much better. And I don't know why software engineers don't want to do that. Number one, like, why wouldn't you want better code? It's like saying, oh, instead of thinking about this type and making a proper structure with the right type fields, I'm going to make it any. Like, if you said as a programmer, they'd look at you like you're silly. But that's what you're effectively doing when you're working with an AI without context. You're just saying, actually, this isn't any type. We'll figure it out.
Unless you're Ruby, then you're
yeah. Unless you're in Ruby, exactly. And to me, when I found that out and when I started understanding that more, saying, hey, like this context management is important, it's changed the way I work with LLMs and it's made that work even better. So what does that look like in practice? My issues are better. Like when I make a linear or GitHub issue, they're more like descriptive of what to do and how to approach the problem. So I can just tell an AI agent like, hey, go take linear issue 1, 2, 3 and like, let's get it started. And it has the context there because I wrote it in the issue. My documentation's better. Like all of this is better. And that none of that is software engineering work, right? Like software engineering work. No. And I don't know why people would like look down on that work is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And I think we're in a revolution of what was successful in this previous geological phase of the world is not what's successful going forward. And it's also not like we're all unemployed and there are AI robots everywhere. It's like actually working on the process and working on the workflow to make it clear for your business, for your situation is way more important than it used to be. It used to be like when I had a team and I had a new person, I'd talk to them as a manager. All right, you're going to go through onboarding and just document it for the next person. Like this is so important. Document it. Document. And I was sort of halfway believing that because the next person would come along in 6 months. What if the next person comes along in 6 minutes? Yeah. In the form of a AI prompt. And like all of a sudden, like that's way more valuable to like create this ecosystem like for our business, which is what we've moved to of like this is a thing that knows our business. It knows what our sales is. It knows what ops is. It knows what our code is, and it can tie all of those things together in a curated way for us to get questions answered. There's 2 of us, but all of a sudden it feels like there's more than 2 of us. You know, because we did it right.
I think like the industry is trying to scare like early career people saying, if you don't know all of these things and this code, you're not going to make it. If you don't know the fundamentals, you're not going to make it. And I think sometimes the reverse is more true. If you're one of those like senior staff engineers where all you've done your career is lean on code heavily and you saw everything through the lens of a code, like a code problem, I think you're not going to make it, right? Like you have to like restructure yourself and realize that there's a whole people process problem that you can be solving. It's not just code. And if you don't know how to do that, if you can't write, if you can't, maybe that's the whole crux of the thing where you were saying, Annie, about like the junior hiring crisis. Maybe that's the crux, is that maybe they never had the skills to tell a junior about the product they're working on. Maybe they don't even know, they don't have that skill. And AI is only amplifying that, because now they're saying like, wait, I hate AI and I stuck using it because I don't have that writing ability. I don't have the ability to look at context and trim it down to a point where it's digestible enough. And I don't think through that problem. And I think that's why you're seeing Kris, like in the Oscar scenario, that they're like, oh, I'm just going to solve this with code, because they don't have the skill to solve it elsewhere. And they look at it as a code problem. And I think those are the people really that are not going to make it in the long run, personally. Maybe that's my unpopular opinion. I don't know.
The other side of that too is like the thing that AI is so good at, and that's the bad thing, is tricking you into believing you're a genius.
Yeah.
And so you've got this staff engineer who's using their context window in the wrong way. They're getting crap responses, but it fuels their sense of pride that they know what they're doing, and that I can solve this. I'm the only one who can handle these AIs. And when they're just like, bringing a sledgehammer to the situation and not utilizing the tool correctly, but then AI is very accommodating to whatever foolishness you want to get yourself into. It's so good at that. And so like I bet there's just all of these people that are telling their bosses, look, just leave me alone. I just need, these things are on cutting edge and they're giving me half good stuff. And I need to have the judgment to show the half good stuff. I don't know what I would do with a junior. And they just haven't taken the time to really rethink the model of how they're getting things done. And that's unfortunate.
That is unfortunate. AI is so funny. Like I posted a link, say, hey, can you like scan this for security vulnerabilities? Like just the OWASP top 10 stuff or whatever. And it's like, no, that's unethical unless you can just scan things on the internet. And I was just like, I own it. And they're like, oh, well, in that case.
It was not like, easy to get around.
I was like, okay, that was, what was the grandma's napalm recipe or whatever they did? There was like an example where it's like, give me the right recipe for napalm.
What if it's my grandmother?
Yeah. But it's my grandmother's. Yeah. It's like, oh, okay.
In that case.
In that case, I'll give you two, right? But yeah, I mean, it's funny because AI is, if you don't know how to use this correctly, if you don't know how to like tell the story, I think these are overlapping skills. If you couldn't teach someone who's, less experienced than you, and you couldn't kind of mentor them and onboard them, then I think your experience with AI is going to be, not as great. Not that you couldn't use AI, but I think those skills are like complementary to one another. And if you were a good mentor and you enjoyed one-on-ones and pair programming and like helping people, AI feels like that, right? It feels like, hey, AI, you know a lot, but you need to be fed some of this context so you can be more successful in this role. And that's, you rinse and repeat that. And I think that's why we're basically just seeing these like staff plus level engineers that didn't have those skills like outing themselves at this point, right? And it's not everybody, of course, but like you're seeing that for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like if you find yourself digging in, like, I don't need people skills or whatever, or if you find yourself offended by that conversation, then just look at it as a growth opportunity. Like, oh, yeah, if I want to progress in my career, if I want to not be on the layoff list or whatever, like I do, like the skills that are seen as more valuable now are being able to navigate complex human systems and like high level problem solving skills that require you to understand things from a level that you would be able to, train a junior on. And so like use those training opportunities, or if you're training your AI agents or whatever, use those as opportunity to gain those skills that you're lacking in, like use it as some on the job training for job security, because layoffs are so prevalent. And if you don't show those abilities to add value by adding the high level strategical important skills, then, you're going to be not in a safe place.
Yep. At Oxide, we had this conversation last week about, we have new hires that are joining and they are like they're faced with the pressure of the self-inflicted pressure, really, to like be useful now. It's like, dude, you just started 1 day ago. You do not need to prove anything to anyone. Get your laptop set up, go, like, it's okay. Read about the product, talk to people. You do not need to be like slinging code day one or whatever, right? You don't need to do that. You onboard, take your onboarding. But they were so, some of these people were like, no, I want to learn everything. It's like, you can't learn this complex product in 1 day, right? And like some people propose having like a glossary of terms where it's like, hey, this glossary of terms will help me learn everything. It's like, no, it won't. It's only going to confuse you because you're going to be looking at terms in either a shallow context, right? Where it's like, oh, I see that this term was mentioned here in one passing sentence, or you're just going to overwhelm yourself with terms that you don't even need to know at your stage, right? Like you don't need to know this complex term that you don't even interact with daily. So we were kind of just having this discussion where we had people that have been at Oxide for like 6 years. We've had people that have been at Oxide for just a few years and people that have been at Oxide for maybe like a day or a week, right? And we were all just kind of talking about what's useful to you. And we said, I'm not new anymore. So I can't tell you what it's like to look at this product from scratch. I have all these years of context. So you as the new person, please tell me like what you're looking to learn so that I can like transfer some of that context with you. But I can't make it up for you. I can't just say like, hey, new person, here's everything you should know. Because I don't even know what that is, right? And we were just having this sort of like, we're trying to meet in the middle on what's useful to put in some onboarding material to help new hires, go along. And we still have that discussion kind of going because, it's not, we can't solve that in a 30-minute meeting either. But it was just interesting to see that like people lean on things that may not even be useful. It's like the GitHub issue problem, right? You put a label on it, so it's you're done. You know what I mean? It's like I put a label on it. The label says like, good first issue. We're good. You didn't even read it. You have no idea. You didn't modify the issue to like curate it a little bit. You did this sort of meaningless work to make yourself feel like you did work. And that's sort of the thing you have to combat in today's world. You have to do more than just that.
Yeah.
I tell, you were talking about your new hires and they just really want to be useful right away. And you're like, don't break anything. Like just don't touch anything just yet. Like, but I always tell people or like the either new people or people that don't have jobs yet that are searching, like, what value can I bring? They're asking, what value can I bring? And I'm like, your perspective is the most valuable thing right now. So like, as somebody onboarding, whatever confuses you is the most valuable thing right now. Like, tell us what confuses you. Tell us where the friction is and all this, or people that are in college looking for jobs and they're trying to find mentors or whatever. And like, how do I have a give first mentality with a mentor? Like, what do I have to give them? And I tell them, well, you have, number one, your perspective. Like you can be curious about what they're doing with your lens. That's such a valuable thing. Like they might not be talking to people like you in their day-to-day life at work and whatever, but you're this like, you've got this unique perspective that is so valuable to them. And that's what you can give them. And the other thing you can give them is your success. Like if somebody invests in you and you turn out like you take everything that they, all the advice that they give you and you turn it into actionable items and you show that what they thought was, led to success, then that's super valuable to them. They want to know that their investment was worthwhile. And so anyway, I just love flipping the script with either juniors or onboarders or like university students, like, oh my gosh, you don't realize how much value you actually do have to give that, we don't have access to otherwise,
Yeah, I think one of the consequences of bad management ideas from the 80s, like, Jack Welch's, stack ranking and rank and yank, is that we like want to put everybody in like a singular dimension of value. So it's like, oh yeah, the junior people are less valuable than the senior people are less valuable than staff people are less valuable than the principals. And it's like, that's looking at something in like one dimension that like has hundreds of dimensions. And we need to find ways to be much more, to acknowledge that different dimensionality of like, where do people bring value? How do they bring value? And finding a good balance of that. I also think that like software engineers specifically suffer from like the world kind of tells us, like, I think if I go tell someone I'm a software engineer, they're like, oh my God, you must be so good at math and so good with logic. And I'm like, I am good with like logic, but that's because I'm a writer, not because I'm a software engineer. And I think too many software engineers get told like, or get like kind of worshipped as like the people of the future and told like, you're so logical. And like the number of logical fallacies that software engineers spew per minute has got to be like the highest out of most other professions. Cause I just like sit down and like read what some software engineers write, or read what they say, or listen to what they say. And it's like, you are not making a coherent argument, but you think that because you're this person of logic that like the argument you're making is like very coherent. And it's just like, just think of like, just use some basic skills. Like one of the things I've been railing on a bit lately is just like how bad people are at understanding what software engineering is, because they have this idea of engineering in their mind, but they think of like mechanical or civil engineering and like building stuff and doing all of this. And I'm like, every single other design discipline, what an engineer outputs is every single other engineering discipline, what the engineer outputs is a design. Like actually one of my friends who is a civil engineer, I'm like, what is a product that you produce? He's like, it's a design. He actually used 3 different words that are all synonyms for design. I was like, so designs. He's like, yeah, that's fair. And when you talk to software engineers though, like, you know, Russ Cox has this thing of software engineering where he's like, oh, software engineers, what happened when you add people and time to programming. And there's a whole bunch of stuff out there that's sort of like that or analogous like that. And I'm like, just shift that to another industry, right? Is civil engineering really what happens when you take construction work and add more people and time to it? Like that doesn't track. Or chemical engineering or mechanical engineering, like none of that tracks. So why do we think that like software engineering would be any different than those other types of engineering? And it's not. Like we're software engineers create designs that then, you know, programmers and other people go and they put together and make into software that we can all use. But that lack of like differentiation plus you're all highly logical, I think leads software engineers like down just a dark path of like thinking that the world they have observed is like the world as it actually is without digging into things, right? There's so much discourse in software engineering about is software engineering, but no one really asks the question of like, what is engineering in the first place? Or do we have a correct understanding of engineering before we say, oh, we're not engineers? And that happens with a lot of stuff. And that's, I think, what happened with AI too. We didn't ask, what is this machine doing? We said, oh, look, it looks like it's thinking, so it must be thinking. And it's like, but let's actually look at what the thing is doing and try to understand it and do actual science to expand knowledge to understand things. And we're just not, as an industry, very good at doing that. And I think that's one of the main things that we need to start figuring out how to do if we want to actually shepherd the world forward in a responsible way.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because like when people say like, oh, you're a software engineer, you must be good at logic and math. It's like, well, my logic is binary. So how hard can binary logic really be? Like, you know, if we want to trivialize it really, obviously we can combine it or whatever. But like, I'm not thinking about, you know, the average software engineer is not thinking about the things that like a you know, a civil engineer would be thinking about. Like, hey, this is actually in a different environment and different materials. And there's so many different facets to it. We're really just like to code or not to code. Right? At the end of the day, not to like trivialize either side, but there's so much more nuance that goes into the logic that we don't actually like see that part. We just say like, oh, you wrote an if else block, so you must like know logic. It's like, no, well, sure, I guess I know logic, but there's more to it than just this sort of binary world that we tend to like, you know, reduce everything to. There's many, many more facets of the system.
I mean, even the idea that we live in binary, it's like, I don't know, the units we're all working with are bytes, and those have 256 values each. So, like, are we all working with binary? I don't really know. Is our logic binary? But I also think compared to other engineering, like, I think every other engineering discipline has, like, built-in constraints that we just don't have. Like, you can do almost anything with software. And that's both the gift of the blank canvas, you can create anything you want, but also a curse in that you have to self-impose constraints. Which, again, is something that software engineers aren't great at a lot of the time.
Yeah. And Annie, to your point about perspective, I'm literally, after this, I'm going to go talk to a new hire that started this week. And I got feedback from like a customer that our Windows sort of getting started guides were like intimidating or not clear. And they're correct, right? Like the Windows stuff is, you know, when's the last time someone went through and like polished that, right? Or when's the last time someone stumbled through it? And I've used Windows on Oxide to the point where like I'm comfortable with doing the steps, but I'm not a fresh user anymore. So my ask to this person when I'm done recording here is to go say, hey, I need you to kind of go through this doc with no context, no nothing. And I just need you to like write down and to share your experience with me so that we together can fix this. Right. And like, yeah, it's a lot of work on you. And I need you to struggle. I can't give you the answers purposefully because I want that perspective and I can't bias you against it. And that's valuable for me because then as new customers come to these guides, it'll be solved. Right. And like a lot of early career people forget about that. Like part of your strength is the fact that you don't know anything yet. Right. Like that is the strength that I want to see. And they rush. They want so bad to rush to be a staff plus whatever engineer that knows everything. It's like, no, but I want you actually to struggle a little bit because that is what really is going to make our product better. And I don't know how to like, it's hard to say that to someone, right? Like, yeah, I want you because you're a blank slate, right? Like it sounds bad, but it's like your superpower too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I think that curiosity fuels careers, honestly. Like the more curious you are about things, the more you'll dig into answers and collaborating with other people to figure out those answers. And it's just going to be rocket fuel.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's one of the ways that I like advanced in my own career is that, and how I even started off being at like such a senior level is I just like, but how does this thing work? I was never like satisfied with like, oh, I got to a solution. And I'm like, but why does that solution work? And I dig into it, or I like spend hours just looking at code bases at new jobs being like, but how does this thing work? How does this thing work? And so when someone would be like, oh, this thing works in like XYZ, I'm like, actually, no, like it actually works in this way. And here's the code that shows how it works in this other way. And people would be like, how do you know that? I'm like, because I didn't have the context of how the code works. So I sat down and read it. It's not like the accreted knowledge over time of like, oh, it might have worked that way at some point, or I read it wrong the first time. It's like, no, I just read it. It's fresh. Here's how the thing works. And that's extremely valuable, I think, to organizations and something that juniors bring to the table.
Or just like organizational things too. Like, why is this project blocked? Oh, well, such and such, and then you dig into why a project is blocked. Oh, maybe this team is struggling with this one project and they need this expertise and whatever, but you start talking to people and you start figuring it out. And then you become solutions oriented and you unblock people and you become known as a person who gets things moving, and that's so valuable to organizations.
Yeah.
And to yourself. You become somebody who's really strong at maneuvering, crappy situations, or you don't see things as problems, you see them as opportunities and all that.
Agreed. I think we should go to unpopular opinions because we have the tendency to record long on break, and we shouldn't be recording long on break. It's so easy. Like as you're on, like we've done 55 episodes or whatever. It's still tough to like understand how fast time goes by when you're starting to talk about things. It's wild. And I'm staring at the timer, and I'm just still like, wow, how are we doing this? Yeah. Anyway, let's go to unpopular opinions. Annie or Michael, do you have an unpopular opinion? Something that you believe that maybe other people would be like, I don't believe you.
I'll let Michael go first.
The unpopular opinion I seem to stumble on is that AI is not going to create more McDonald's. It's going to enable more Michelin experience. So like everyone's thinking like, oh, I can make this SaaS app in 10 minutes, one shot. And I think actually what's going to happen is like, we're going to stop having crappy software.
So your unpopular opinion is that AI will help us create higher quality experiences. Yeah.
It's not more software. It's going to be like, it's a better experience. Like it works way better.
But we first have to experience all of the crappy ones that will come about, that are coming about.
Yeah.
And then
a lot of people are trying to make McDonald's right now.
Right. And then you'll be able to see the difference between the McDonald's and the Michelin. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
That does make sense.
I feel like I agree with that.
I think I agree with it too. Is it because AI is going to enable that like feedback loop, or what makes you think that it'll lead to the higher quality?
I just think we've all kind of agreed with the poor nature of software. And like, if you go watch a movie from the 1700s, like we watched the HBO series.
From the 1700s?
Yeah.
Oh,
that is a period.
Piece.
Yeah, okay. Period piece. That's what I meant by that. But we were watching John.
There
We
were
were
watching
watching-
back then. I don't know about you, but no.
We were
Sorry, go
watching
ahead.
John Adams on HBO, Annie and I, and
If
just
you haven't seen that, it's so good. It came
Yeah,
out
it's
My
in
from
like
wife
the
the
early
watches
2000s.
so many
2000s.
period pieces. I had
Yeah.
to ask her. She probably has.
But we were watching that, and there's just so much foolishness that's happening. Like when he has a medical issue, they're like the medical interventions are really bad, and it's just foolishness. And I really feel like when we look at the 2000 to 2020, we're just like, oh, geez, I'm so glad we're not there anymore. And they're gonna have a movie where they're making fun of those people for all the crashing and all the BS and all of the cloud tracking craziness, and then like we're going to a place where it's actually going to serve you, and we're just not aware that it's not serving us because we couldn't afford up until now to create what people wanted. We had to create things that had ads on top of them or some other backdoor channel of revenue that would get people to that would make it sustainable for investors, etc. And I just think that, in 5 years, there's going to be way better software, and it's going to be more delightful and more user facing. And we can finally do that. And it will feel like a period piece versus a modern movie was the metaphor I was trying to make.
I think too, there's the we're running out of hardware gains. So it's like in order for computing to get better, we have to make software better. And now we have the tool to make software like exponentially better. Because when I explain to people the difference in computing power between like an Apple II and a Mac Studio, where it's just like, I came up with this analogy of like, if you turned it into square footage, and like the Apple II was like a small house, like a decent sized house. And like the Mac Studio is like the state of Connecticut. It's like these are just massively different scales. And in our minds, we just haven't really thought about it. But for a long time, you had like the processing power going up, the number of transistors going up, and we just had massive gains. And like software over the past 60 or 50 years is like not that much better. It's like better, but like not exponentially many times over better. And I think we're once the hardware gains stop happening, we're going to start seeing a lot more of the software gains. And I think AI, to your point, is going to help us actually do that.
Yeah, I can take up too much time and say one more story. When New York City got water for the first time, they were like, okay, well, this is going to be super easy and barely an inconvenience. Like everyone's using about a bucket a day to take a shower, the whole household. And, we have this many people and this many buckets. Let's like do it. And then like the minute it came out, they ran out of water. Because like actually people did not want to consume the level of water they were consuming. It wasn't ideal for them. And they improved the quality of their life by consuming more water and higher quality water. And I think it's the same thing. It's like not that people are going to just have their same lifestyle and have their same usage patterns and just go with it, and we'll have 1 million JavaScript SaaS applications on our hands. It's going to be different than that.
Yeah.
Annie?
All right. Well, I have given a lot of unpopular opinions on this show today, starting with that I think that companies can get better survey data from things other than surveillance, that seniors should mentor juniors, that some other things. But I think the most unpopular opinion I think I have with everybody that I talk to is that you should sleep with a top sheet. Not just the fitted sheet on your bed, but the top sheet, the flat sheet.
Okay, but where am I in relation to the sheets? Like, can you
You're
make the
under
sandwich?
the top
Okay.
sheet. You're in between the two sheets.
So
oh my
I'm on
gosh.
top of the fitted sheet, but I'm under the top sheet.
Correct.
Yeah.
You're covering up with the top sheet.
Do people not do that? Wait, I'm confused. I'm very confused. How is
People
this
don't
I don't have a
it.
top sheet on my bed.
If
at
you're
all.
a top sheet person, it's shocking how many people don't use
Wait,
top sheets.
Do you just have like a comforter on top of you? Like a
So we
yes,
have-
they do
all right.
that.
So I have the fitted sheet on the bed, and then I have a quilt, and my wife has a comforter. We have separate blankets. It's the best
I know.
decision ever.
Can you imagine sleeping without a top sheet? I cannot. It just feels
I don't-
incomplete.
Well, to be the one to be even weirder, I sleep on top of all of that.
Oh, like with nothing on top?
like you cocoon yourself.
Nothing is on top of me.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Sometimes.
I mean, I get really hot
need
at
that.
night, but even I still just need something.
Just stick your foot
to
out
cover
and then
me
you
up.
like cool down or whatever.
Just stick your foot out. Yeah. But yeah, separate comforters is the best because my wife likes to like just turn and get everything.
That's a good idea.
So I got my own. I have like a quilt that I fold in half, right? So like on my side, I just open it and I get inside and I close it,
Like a
or I just
taco?
sleep on top of it. Yeah, I'm like a taco. Yep. I treat myself as a taco when I sleep.
I have so many layers. I have like my fitted sheet and then my top sheet, and then like I have like a weighted blanket, and then I have like my duvet, and then I have a blanket on top of that. I like.
But do you sleep
like
under
layers.
all of that?
Yeah.
How cold do you have it at night?
Yeah, he's in a walk-in freezer.
Are the
I mean,
windows
especially during the
open?
summer, my room is very cold. But if it's too hot, I just like my feet and my ears regulate my body temperature. So I just like stick a foot out, and then I'll like cool down.
That is smart. Yes,
I can't do that.
I like the
first
layers.
time-
I like the
Why
weight.
do you have to sleep with the top sheet?
Well, for cleanliness. Because then, unless you clean your blankets all the time. So this was where I think my sister-in-law was the first person that I realized that didn't use a top sheet. And I guess it was a millennial thing. Like I'm a Gen X and she's a millennial. And I was like, are y'all not using top sheets? And she was like, well, I use
grew
a
up that way
duvet.
too.
Right.
So.
And she's like, well, I use a duvet and I just clean the duvet all the time. And I was like, okay, but that's so much trouble.
That's
Like
so
I
much
just
work.
wash the sheets and then I don't have to wash the duvet as much. I don't know if that's gross to
Interesting.
her.
I mean, I
but-
take a shower before I go to sleep. I can't go
You
to sleep
still
unless I
sweat
take
at
a
night,
shower.
dude. Like,
No, I know.
We
You
got
still
the
sweat.
process down.
Yeah, you still sweat at night for sure, but I can't go to sleep unless I take a shower. I don't know why. I just don't like it.
And
I don't
maybe
take a
you're
morning. I don't take a
using-
morning shower.
And if you're using like a down blanket or something, you don't want to wash that as often. And so maybe if you're just using quilts and, lightweight comforters and stuff like that, those are easy to throw in the washing machine. But it's super easy just to throw sheets in the washing
I'm going to tell my wife that you said this because she's probably going to agree with you. So she's probably like, yeah, see, that's why I want to put the top sheet on. You're the one. She's probably going to blame me for the problem.
You're the
So,
one.
yeah. I told her that I was recording with
didn't use
Annie.
one. When we got married, Michael didn't use one. And I just was like putting my foot down. No, sir.
It's been 20 years of, are you using the sheet? Are you using the sheet?
Because sometimes he'll get
20
in bed
years.
and it'll all be smushed over to my side. And I'm like, you need to straighten the sheet out right now.
That's a good unpopular opinion.
that's a good.
I really like that one.
Very unpopular, though. I didn't realize it was so unpopular. I'm sure.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm sure our listeners are probably like, wow.
Polarized.
Yeah,
They're
probably
polarized, I
like,
promise you.
Yeah, we're going to get more comments on that one than anything.
Yeah, for real. Kris, anything before we wrap it up?
I think I've said enough unpopular things already.
I'll tease my unpop with a show that we're going to plan on recording is my unpopular opinion after talking to you and Steve and everyone else is that I just believe Semver is not it anymore. I don't think Semver is the way to version things.
If I
anymore.
were to have an unpopular opinion, I would say that Semver is so hilariously broken that it's astonishing that we're still using it.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you on that one based on the conversations you and I have been having.
Yeah.
So we'll leave that as a teaser for a future episode.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well, viewer/listener, I was thinking this was going to go short, but it actually went long. So, oops, sorry about that. More content for you, I guess. But how'd you like that conversation? And as always, let us know in the comments or on in the comments or on social media and changelogs of the lip or go for Slack. This episode of Break featured Kris Brando, Matthew Sanabria, Annie Hedgepeth, and Michael Hedgepeth. Break is a Fallthrough Media production, is produced by Kris Brando, and our beats are by Breakmaster Cylinder. Okay, I gotta do that one.
Bada boom, bada bing.
And done.